Hey everybody, I am Alice Keeler and I'm joined with Marcia Carrillo, and we are here just to chat about your Google Drive. But before we start in on Google Drive, we have about 5 minutes before the presentation is supposed to start. So we're just gonna wait for you all to drop in. We'd love for you to share where you're from over in the comments, say hello. What are the things that drive you crazy about Google Drive? And we'll get this started in a few minutes. Marcia, isn't it like the end of the school year for you?
It is the end of the school year for me. I've been taking my daily naps.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
And, but I am excited to learn a few things about the end of the year school cleanup with Google Drive because, yes, my Google Drive is a mess right now. And it'd be nice to get a fresh start for next year, but I don't want to have to clean it up next year.
Yeah,
I have actually some time right now. So
for sure. And we'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. How many days do you have left in school?
we have 5 days next week and then 3 days. So 8 days.
3 days of what?
Um, well, 2 of those days are final, so they're minimum
Okay,
days.
got it, got it,
So
got it.
1 week is just a 3-day week.
Well, school district here, they ended yesterday. My husband teaches English in the school district here, and so yesterday was his last day, and it was my kid's
Yay.
last day, and it's so early. Now, I would rather have a little bit longer. Like, so we have Kelly here. She says she has 18 more days left. I actually wouldn't mind that because I'd like those 18 days sprinkled throughout the school year to have like a Monday off once in a while. Like, I just
Yeah.
need some rest. So we're getting there. Hey, Kelly, thanks for joining us. So, what drives you nuts is all the old files that people have shared with you and you don't want to delete them. I will definitely address that once we get started. We're going to start in just a couple of minutes. We're just waiting for people to roll in. We're supposed to start at 5:40 and it's 5:37 right now, but we thought we would get it rolling so people can join. 3.5 days, Denise. That's very exciting. All right, share what is everybody doing for this summer? What are you going to do over the break? Is anyone going to do any schoolwork, professional development, conferences, or anything? All right, we have duplicating docs in different folders, so I would love to bring that up, talk about it. Hey, Debbie. Debbie, I was going to say, Debbie, aren't you retired? You've been talking about your retirement for so long. I just kept feeling like you're already retired, but you got 5 more days until you're actually retired. Debbie, am I going to see you at a Nedco? So for those of you who don't know, Enedco is in Colorado. It's in Breckenridge every summer. So I believe it is June 12th or right around there. And you should go. It's at a ski resort, the Breckenridge Ski Resort. It's beautiful. It's just a really great way to get together with other educators and a beautiful place after school is out. Denise is gonna do some curricular work and play with her grandkids. Super exciting. I just took my first child to college, dropped him off. I didn't want him hanging around here in the basement all summer. So I'm like, go get a job, get a girlfriend, wander around campus, feel like you know where the buildings are. See ya. Debbie's doing what? Debbie's not coming to a Nedco. That is a shame. She lives in Colorado, so I'm not even going to let her off the hook on this one. So Kelly's just taking a vacation down the shore. You have a membership at a lake. Lucky you. I would do the pool. I'm just not a lake person. It's not my jam. Marcia will do anything though. I think we were at my son's birthday party one year and I had rented an inflatable slide and you kicked it off. You're like, I'm going to show these whippersnappers how it's done and cowabunga down the thing. Marcia's always good for a good time. Okay, looks like it is 5:40, so we can start getting to going here. If you would like to just share some of your complaints or things that you would like to know about Google Drive, we'd love to share them with you. I'm going to go ahead and pop up this with my slides. We have the end of the year cleaning up Google Drive. I'm going to link to the slides here in the sidebar. There's Carol. Hi, Carol. Thanks for joining in. Glad to have you. Okay, so here's my first thing. If you're using your school email, your school Google account, I would highly, highly recommend you go create a new Google account right now. You never know why you might leave your school. So, the school that I left several years ago, I had a medical emergency and they told me I basically couldn't go back to work the next day. I mean, you just never know why you need to leave. Google Takeout, believe it or not, doesn't actually take out everything. It doesn't take out your Google Forms and some other things, and you have to have permission from the IT guy to even use Google Takeout. And believe me, if you have whatever the circumstances are, there's sometimes that you don't want to have to go talk to the IT guy and beg for permission to get access to your own files. So the first thing I would suggest to you to do is to create a personal account that it's not really your personal account, not your Gmail that you normally use, but a Gmail you just use for Google Drive. It gives you extra Google Drive storage. Use it for teaching only. So you create your quizzes and your resources and anything that if you were to leave your building, you retired, right, Debbie? You're retiring. How do you take your stuff with you? I mean, that's the biggest cleanup of all, right? It's when you got to leave. Well, it can be effortless. It's all in your own personal Google Drive anyway, or you got to figure out how to transfer it and move it over. I do have an add-on for moving files, like copying entire folders from one account to another account. It's tedious to do it a folder at a time, my friends. I highly recommend that you just make your own account, right? So just make like teacher Keeler at gmail.com, and then you create your original files in that account, and then you share and make a folder. Share the folder with your school account so you have access to all of them. You can even copy them over if you really need to. But when you leave, you have all of those originals. Now, things with student information should be on your school account, right? You don't own student information. So when you leave, you don't want those files with student information. Anyway, anything that you might possibly like, you know what, this rubric, if I were to leave this district, I would love for this rubric to come with me. Make it in your personal account, share it with your school account. That also helps you with add-ons. Now, I have, of course, 29 different add-ons. I have a new one that I would love to show you. So I'm going to go to alicekeeler.com/coded by Alice, alicekeeler.com/coded by Alice. And I have all of these clicked no user data. They're totally safe. I created them personally for teachers, but some schools won't let you use them. Whatever, they just won't. So you can always use them on your personal account. So that's another way that you can kind of get around is by just creating an account just for teaching. And I don't even use that email address, that Gmail that I set up. I don't use it. I just use it if I'm like at a conference and I want to enter a contest. They're like, enter the raffle. Well, I don't want to have all your spam. So I give them that email so I can get the confirmation things, but without having to give up my school email address and clogging up my inbox. So that's my tip for you. Make sure that you have a separate Google Drive, and then you create a folder in Drive and make everything in that folder and share the entire folder with your school self. Then you have access to everything. Debbie, who's retiring, says she's working on getting her files moved over, but it's stressful. It really is, you guys. It really is stressful. So I highly recommend that you create a Google account just for your Google Drive. Anything you might possibly want to save, start it in your personal account, share it with your school account. Not student information. Student information should be in your school account. So that is different. All right, Marcia, do you have any tips or comments?
I really like what you've been suggesting, and I did that a few years ago where I created my own account, and I've been, doing that for like the last few years. And of course, that allows me to use Alice Keeler's add-ons.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's good. Now I'm coughing to death. I'm going to show you what my new add-on does. And now I know all of you have been using ChatGPT. I'm going to ask it to mute for T went down the wrong pipe, right? So I want to make a blog post with a list of tips for cleaning up Google Drive for teachers at the end of the school year. All right, now I really think that using ChatGPT is an exercise in critical thinking because you're going to have to weed through the garbage that is in here. It gives you false information, like this archive completed work. There is no archive feature. There's no archive feature. So thanks, ChatGPT, for this super helpful tip, but it's not a real tip. So you have to be able to fact check, understand how to do it, ask the right questions to refine your prompts. But anyway, you can see that it is making me a list, and I'm going to do docs.new. I'm just going to copy and paste that list into, and I have my own list because most of this wasn't helpful at all. Okay, once it stops, I will have the copy icon. I can go through these in a second. So I'm going to use the clipboard icon. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in here. And what you'll see is that it actually pasted it in Markdown. So instead of bolding the text, it puts these asterisks around it, and then it puts a hard carriage return, a blank paragraph in between each of the paragraphs. So my newest add-on that I just got approved helps you for when you copy and paste from ChatGPT into a Google Doc. So you go to extensions, you're going to go to remove blank lines by Alice Keeler. And if you choose remove blank paragraphs, it gets rid of all of those carriage returns. I then Control A, select all, and come up and adjust the line spacing to add a space after the period. So it's still spaced out, but not because there are hard carriage returns in there. So again, that's up here in the toolbar. Add, now it says remove, but it would say add space after paragraph. So that's kind of my go-to. Now to get rid of these pesky double asterisks, extensions, remove blank lines, and you'll see that I have the option for bold. And now it changes all of those markups into bold. So that saved me a lot of time cleaning that up from Google, from ChatGPT into the Google Doc. Now I have a few other features and I'm trying to think like what formatting would be really helpful after you copy paste from ChatGPT. So ChatGPT does not put two spaces after the period. It only does one, but I know some of you out there are still stuck in putting two spaces after the period. So if you used remove blank lines by Alice Keeler, that will remove the double space and put a single space. You can add headings and you can have it indent your paragraphs if you like to have that tab. So I'll just pick that in there. You can see that it tabs them all in. So let's go over my end of the year cleaning up Google Drive tips. One is you can use add-ons if they're on a personal account, as I just showed you. Okay, let's go to my first tip here is start by cleaning up with the largest files. They take up the most of your storage. Now, if you're on a school account, it's not as big of an issue because you no longer have unlimited storage, but you have so much you really shouldn't worry about it. Nonetheless, I'm going to go to drive.google.com. And on the left side, it says storage. So I'm going to click on storage on the left side. Now clicking on storage, come on, load it up. It is sorted by largest files to smallest files. So if you have some videos in there that you're not going to use again, like this is from 2020, I'm probably not going to use this anymore. I can go ahead and delete it. Now, the thing is, read this note really carefully. This is important. When you move to the trash, it will delete after 30 days, but during the 30 days, you can still recover it from the trash, which means your collaborators can still recover it. So what's going to happen is if your students or somebody else is shared on the file, you move it to the trash. When they go to that file, if they've got it bookmarked somewhere, it's going to give them an option to make a copy of it. So if you don't want that to happen, move to trash and then click on trash. And you're going to want to empty your trash. Let me zoom in here a little bit. Click empty trash, get rid of all of those to delete forever. And that will keep collaborators. And if you want to delete it, you probably just want to delete it. You don't want options hanging around later. So that is my first tip. In Google Drive, click on storage, find large files. You're like, I don't really need these anymore. It's really big. It's from a long time ago. And then you can go ahead and delete them and make sure you go to the trash and clean out the trash. So let me see what comments that we have so far. We have a user from New Zealand. Hey, yeah, I know it's the middle of the school year for some of you. I like to go to Peru a lot, and they're in the middle of their school year as well. But this is still really good for you no matter the time of year, right? It's getting your Google Drive cleaned up. Debbie says the other piece is when you have so much of your personal drive, you don't have enough space. So that comes back to my original tip to create a personal account, because then it gives you a separate one just for teaching, right? You have your personal Gmail, and then you have a separate one just for your teaching files so that it's not clogged up with your actual personal files. So I would have a third account at least. You don't even want to know how many accounts I have. Okay, now we had some questions up in here, and I want to make sure that I address them before they get lost. I keep duplicating docs to save in different unit folders. Never make copies of files. So making a copy of a file is kind of an old way of thinking about using Microsoft Office and Word documents. And many of us are trained to think like that, to like make copies. So here's the thing, like I have my syllabus. Here's my syllabus. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to do docs.new. I'm going to make a syllabus. So let's say I just name this syllabus 2012. And I'll just have ChatGPT make me a rough draft. New chat, make a syllabus for math class. Cool, just makes it for me. You gotta love ChatGPT. Okay, copy it, paste it. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the file menu. I'm gonna come here to version history, and I'm gonna name my current version. So this is gonna be fall 2012, right? Now, next year, I'm going to do some things differently. I'm going to use the exact same syllabus. I've got this linked in several places. I've shared it with people. Don't make a copy of your syllabus. Just keep using the same one and update it. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to change it to where it's now 2013. Don't ask me why I'm going back 10 years. 2013. And I'll make that a heading. Please, I beg you to use headings in your Google Docs. Don't just make the font larger, but to actually use headings. It not only makes it more accessible, but it starts to create this outline on the side and does some other nifty things. So please get in the habit of adding headings to your documents. And then I'm going to go back to File, and I'm going to go to Version History. I'm going to name the current version 2013 syllabus. Now, what happens if somebody comes back later and for some reason needs the syllabus from 2012? So I'm going to make this the 2014 syllabus. And of course, I make other edits to it. File, version history, name this version 2014. I just keep using the same one, 2015. Don't forget to change it up here. It's now the 2015 syllabus. File, version history, name the current version. This is my 2015 syllabus. All right, cool. Now someone needs the 2012 syllabus. It's unlikely. It could happen. I don't really need them. I go to version history and I see the version history. See version history. And you can see I have all of the syllabi listed here from 2012, 2013, 2014. They're all in one place. I'm not searching all over my Google Drive for which version, which year, which file. And then I can actually just come back here to 2012 and use the 3 dots. And you can make a copy of that version if you need to. I have so rarely needed to do this, but just in case. Now, when I teach college classes, it is once in a while you have someone going to graduate school who needs the syllabus from 5 years ago. And so for that reason, I'll do it. But what I'll usually do is I just restore this version so I can print it on paper because someone's asking it from me. So I just restore it. And then I go back to the version history, see version history, and I'm just going to go ahead and restore it back to the current version. So if I do need an old version, I still don't make copies unless I really need to. And if you really need to, those 3 dots are there for you to make a copy, but please stop making copies. Now, if you're using Google Classroom, it gives you the option to copy your entire class. That alone is making a giant mess of your Google Drive. Now, when you try and find files in your drive, they're copies. It's copied your syllabus. It's copied your notes. It's copied your student work. It's copied your videos. It's copied your screenshots. Like it is a nightmare for your Google Drive, honest to goodness. Please, not only does it make a nightmare of your Google Drive, it also is not really good teaching pedagogy. Hey, let me teach the exact same way I did last year with kids who are not the same as this year's kids. We should always be looking to update and upgrade and make some changes. I mean, isn't that what's great about teaching is you get a fresh start every year? So I beg you, please don't make a copy of your Google Classroom because it makes a giant mess of your Google Drive. Now, if you've been doing that, please stop that. When you duplicate an assignment, it gives you a checkbox to copy attachments. Don't do that. You don't need to do that. Manage the version history on your files, and it's going to keep your Google Drive a lot cleaner. I have an add-on. Let's go back to my add-on list. And you know what? I didn't link to my other one. This is the remove blank lines. If you are interested in installing that, okay, install remove blank lines. And that is if you're copy and pasting from ChatGPT. That is for that Google Doc. And then I have another one called Fresh Form Tab. Here it is, Fresh Form Tab. Now, look, I only have 2 reviews on this. This is the only way I get paid because they're free. So if you click on reviews, there's a tab that says reviews. And if you would please just leave me a 5-star review on all of my add-ons, I would really be quite grateful. So here is Fresh Form Tab. Fresh Form Tab. So what this is going to do is allow you to reuse your Google Forms. So if I go to forms.google.com, now forms.google.com, slides.google.com, docs.google.com, these are just filters of Google Drive. This is actually Google Drive filtered for Google Forms. So when I go in there, I'm going to go ahead and open up this quiz here. I don't have any responses. Whoops. Let me fill this out real quick. Okay. So there is my quiz. And I do have 3 responses. Awesome. The first thing you want to do is make sure you link to Sheets. So if you don't have a spreadsheet for your Google Forms, I highly recommend that you do that. So you're going to go to the Responses tab, click Link to Sheets, and you can create a new spreadsheet. Or here's a fun tip. You can link them all in the same spreadsheet. So they're all your Google Form responses. You only have to look in one spreadsheet. That is allowed. You can do it. Now, I want to reuse this Google Form next year. So I'm going to go to the puzzle piece and choose Fresh Form Tab. Fresh Form Tab. Clicks No User Data. I just click Create a Fresh Tab. Create a fresh tab, and it confirms for me that I really want to do this. Okay, and what did it do? It just wiped out the responses. It's ready for me to use for the next year. You can make edits to this, but if you come over to the spreadsheet, you'll notice that I have 2 tabs. So this form responses 1 is last year's responses, and form responses 2 is collecting the next year's responses. So if you open up your Google Forms, how are you going to find your Google Forms? Go to forms.google.com, forms.google.com, go to Google Drive, filtered for forms, forms.google.com. So there's your forms. Open them up and run Fresh Form Tab. Run Fresh Form Tab, and that will help you to clean up. And don't copy your Google Forms. Just keep reusing them. And in fact, don't make a Google form for each class. That's another way that you make a mess of your Google Drive. You have multiple forms with the same name. Oh my gosh, that's a nightmare. I just ask a question that says, what class are you in? What class are you in? And then you can use my add-on. I always have a lot of add-ons. You can use my add-on that is 2 tabs. So what 2 tabs is going to do is it's going to sort it into individual tabs. You can have first period in one tab, second period in another tab, third period in another tab. So that is 2 tabs. Let me grab that for you. I have a million installs on that, but only 37 reviews. So I would love for you to leave me a 5-star review, pretty please. Okay, 2 tabs. So you can add a question to your Google Forms. What period are you in? And then sort form responses by the class section using 2 tabs. There you go. Okay. Let me scroll back up, see if we had, I know we had a couple other comments. What drives her nuts is that old files that people have shared with me and things that I don't want to delete in the future. And thank you for mentioning that, Kelly. First thing to realize is that shared with me is not a folder, it's a filter. It's just a filter. That's all it is. It's a filter. So you can't organize it because it's not a folder. If you want it to be a folder, then make it a folder. So go over to your Google Drive, click on shared with me. Go over to Google Drive, click on shared with me, and then anything that's shared with you, be intentional about it. So I've clicked on the 3 dots and it gives me a bunch of options. You can block somebody, don't block me. You can download it, don't do that. It's going to download as PowerPoint. What you want to do is you want to add it to Google, add shortcut to Drive. Now it's going to add a shortcut. So a shortcut says you're not the owner of it, but you're going to be able to find it. So you can actually add multiple shortcuts for one file. So let's say it's a really fun math activity that you can do with both algebra and geometry. You can add the shortcut into your algebra folder and add the shortcut into your geometry folder. So you can access it from both places. But that's one of the things that you would want to do to clean up your Google Drive. I know this drives you crazy. I know the share with me drives you crazy, but remember, it's just a filter. Honestly, I only use it in the moment. So someone says, hey, Alice, I shared something with you. I click on share with me because it should be right there. If it was last week or a month ago, that is not how I access things. I demand if you have shared something with me, if you want me to access it, you must go to file, share, file, email. Wait a minute, what happened here? Share, email, collaborators. What happened is, that's why I got confused. I don't have any collaborators. Let me share this with the Alice Keeler. That's not a real email address. Don't email me there or any of these. Okay, so now file, email collaborators. Email collaborators. This is my bread and butter. Did they move this from share? I swear it used to be under share. They moved all the menus and stuff around recently, so it's just driving me crazy trying to find stuff. But this email collaborators is essential for me because what happens when you click email collaborators is you can write a message, but then it also always includes the link to the file and it goes into the regular email, not those share notifications that get lost. So whenever I'm working on a file and I want someone else to do something in that file, I'm going to do it really intentionally with not a share notification, but a file, email collaborators. Definitely used to be on a different spot. All right. So I hope that that is helpful. Anybody else have a request? Okay. So Kelly says she knows that it's a filter. She tries to see who shared it with me, but you're always nervous. Just be really intentional about it. So as you're looking at it, don't think that it lives and shared with me. You first of all, you can't delete it. If you're not the owner, you can't delete it. The most you can do is remove it from your Google Drive so you don't see it anymore. Now, anytime you open up a file, even when they haven't explicitly shared it with you, so it's like anyone with a link can view, it's going to show up temporarily in your Google Drive where you can search for it and it'll come up. That'll eventually go away because it doesn't really live in your Google Drive. But things in Share With Me don't really live in your Google Drive either. So if you want them to live in your Google Drive, make a habit of going to Share With Me every so often and make a shortcut. Choose shortcut. Yes. Hey, appreciate it. Glad that that was helpful. Okay. Marcia, any comments, tips?
Well, I'm starting to think about it's the end of the year and I have some student samples. What's an easy way for me to make sure I'm able to find my student samples of exemplar work?
I have bad news for you, Marcia. You should have been doing that all year. You know, to go through, I want you to think about how many Google Docs, Google Slides, Google whatever you have from your students that they've been submitting all year, and you're going to go find exemplars. Good luck.
Okay,
Try
what
next
did the
year.
last month?
So you need to create a folder called exemplars. You
Okay.
should do that. If you're a Google Classroom user, you know that the files are created in the class folder. I would actually move, not shortcut. So there's two options. If you're the owner, you have two options. If you're not the owner, shortcut's your only option. So you're the owner, Marcia. You're looking at this student work and you're like, wow, I'd like to share this with my students next year. In that moment, choose to move it to your exemplars folder. It actually will not mess up Google Classroom at all. Google Classroom just stores the file ID, not the file location. So you can move student files out of the Google Classroom folder into an exemplar folder, and it still will work in Google Classroom without any problems. So if you are looking for student exemplars, good luck. You're going to be dumpster diving through anything all of your students have turned in all year. Now, let me talk about the classroom folder really quick. Don't delete it. Do not delete the classroom folder. You will regret that. So I'm going to look this up. Do not type folder classroom. It's coming, it's thinking about it. Here's my classroom folder. Do not delete the classroom folder. Now, I have multiple classroom folders. Let me find, what about this one? Okay. So what you're going to see in there is it's going to have a folder for each of your classes, right? You have a folder for each of your classes. You can delete the folder. So I have this sample. If I delete the folder, here's what's going to happen. Now this folder inside of the classroom folder is for that class, like Algebra 1, fall. It's going to delete all the student work. Anything in that folder will be deleted. Anything in that folder will be deleted. So now be careful, because when you upload to Google Classroom, it doesn't upload to Google Classroom, it uploads to Google Drive. So if I open this is not my real account, so who knows what I'm going to find in here. Yeah, so there's nothing in here, so just pretend for a second. I'll just move a random file in here. If you had uploaded a screenshot, if you had uploaded a file, if you had created something in Google Classroom, it does not upload to Google Classroom, it uploads into the class folder. So your best bet is to not delete the class folder, but rather to delete the assignment folders. So get into your Google Drive, find the classroom folder, find the class folder, open that, and then you can delete the assignment folders, and that'll get a lot of your student work out of your Google Drive. That'll get a lot of your student work out of your Google Drive. Don't delete the classroom folder. I just cannot say that enough times. I would create a hot mess folder, like you want to move forward. You think you're going to sit down and organize all your files in your Google Drive? No one's got time for that. You'll feel really energized for about 10 minutes and then realize it's really overwhelming. So just create a folder in Google Drive, call it hot mess. I already have one. And you just drag everything in there. So I go to my drive and I can find all the files that I failed to. Here's all the files that I failed to organize. So I'm just going to select a bunch of them and I'm going to drag it into my hot mess folder. So step one, if it's in your My Drive, just floating around, it's not in a folder, make a folder called hot mess, drag it all in there, and then organize the couple of things that you want to organize and then not have to look at the other stuff unless you use it. So that's going to help out a lot. Just drag it all in there, all the student work, all the other things, whatever you got, drag it into this hot mess folder. Your Google Drive is going to feel a lot cleaner. And then as you need files or as you think about them, then organize them into files afterwards. All right, so I already did this one. Share with me a shortcut or a copy. Mostly you do the shortcuts. Just remember, if that person were to delete it, you wouldn't have access to it anymore. So there are some circumstances where like someone has made a Trig Identities poster. I'm like, if they deleted this, I'd be really upset about it. Not really, because it's not that exciting, but then I might make a copy as a backup just in case. Just a thought. Mostly don't make copies. Like that's my general rule. Don't make copies. There are some exceptions, but let's just say there aren't because they're so rare. Don't make copies. Take advantage of Google Drive. That's how you don't let your drive get to be a mess in the first place. Don't make copies. Last modified by me is a game changer. So when I come here to my drive, and I'm going to be able to filter it. So you'll notice it says name, owner, and it says last modified by me, and last opened by me. So don't forget all your student work, stuff from other people. You want to sort it last modified by me. So that way it's just going to pull up to the top stuff that you've worked on recently, which you'd be much more likely to want to organize. So really take advantage of those sort columns. So if you click on name, it'll sort by name. If you click on last modified by me, it'll sort forward, backwards, and then you can do it last modified by me, or last opened by me. I would choose all three of them to see the different things that it shows you to surface up things that are a little bit more important to you. So I think that would really help. So take advantage of that filter. Make sure your files have descriptive names so they're easily searchable. Here's a fun thing to do. Just up here in Drive, just type in untitled. Untitled. And here's all your files that you just made and you never titled them. They're just untitled. Okay, here's the trick. Do I have this as my next slide? I should. Yes. P for preview and N for name. So what did I do? I went to Google Drive. I did a search for untitled. And this is like, really, I should probably just delete all of these things because I don't have a name on them. But things that don't have a good name or good description, you might as well burn it anyway because you won't know where to find it or that you want it. So I'm going to come back to my Google Drive. I'm going to click, single click, and push P for preview. So it doesn't have to load. It's going to load up much faster if you do P for preview. And nothing loads fast when you're running a Zoom or a StreamYard or a Google Meet. It just slows down your whole computer. But normally that comes up instantly. You can see that this is completely blank. There is no reason for me to save this. Awesome. Escape. Move it to the trash. Okay, what about this untitled jam? Do I want this? P for preview. P for preview. Come on. Again, it's only running slowly because I'm doing a video. This doesn't look very useful. Looks like I was messing around. So I can go ahead and trash that as well. So let's pretend I did want it. Single click, push N for name. And then you can rename it something more meaningful. So this is a much faster way to go through. Preview it if you want it. N rename it. Push escape. P preview. Escape. Delete it, or N rename it. You just push N and you can rename it. So make sure they have a really good title that's meaningful. And then if you click on the I over here on the side on details, if you scroll down, it has a description spot in the bottom right, all the way at the bottom. So when you click on the I, the letter I in a circle, single click on a file, click on I, go all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to be able to write a detailed description. When you search Drive, it searches the descriptions also. So that can really help people you're sharing it with or you later to understand what is the context of this document, even though the document itself might not say it explicitly. So anything that's a really important document, I encourage you to take a little bit of time to write the description of it, especially if it's shared with other people at your school. Click that description option. Okay, I don't see too many questions coming through, so I'm going to keep going. P for preview, N for name. I love this one. I do this a lot. I'm going to do owner, me. So I do owner, me. It's going to show me files that I am the owner of. Great. What about files I'm not the owner of? That's my next slide. Wait, the ones I am the owner of, use the star feature. Push S for star. So like S for star, S for star, S for star. Files that you might ever open again, ever, star them. Really get into that habit, because otherwise your Google Drive is clogged up with files that people have shared with you and student work. And how do you filter all that stuff out? Not easily, not easily. So if you make sure that anything if you might possibly touch it again, ever. I might use this again, S star it. I might use this again, S star it. I'm not going to use this, trash it. Or move it to the hot mess file. But if it's something you might touch again, don't make it like say it's important. It's not that it's important. It's just saying, I would like to make everything else in my Google Drive go away. Now look, when you come up to go in Google Drive and you click on the filter icon up here in the search bar, you'll notice that you can checkbox starred. So it's only going to show you things in your Google Drive that you have starred. That means all your student work goes away, all your shared with me files go away. Only show me things that are starred. So be really liberal with the starring. Star everything. So you want to clean up your Google Drive, sit there while you're watching TV and just S, 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 S. If you're not sure, just push S. So what are we going to do is you're going to come into Google Drive. You're going to do, oops, I need to clear my filter. I did. Okay. You're going to type owner. Why am I having trouble here? Owner, me. And then you're just going to start going through and putting an S on anything you might possibly save. Now look here at the bottom. When I single click on a file, it gives me the breadcrumbs of what folders these are in. So pay attention to that. So when you single click on it, push S to start, and then make sure it's in the folder that you want it to be in. So that's going to be really helpful way for you to get your drive cleaned up. So just do this a little bit at a time. Just going through, making sure all your files are starred. And I think, now look at this. If I come in here and I put starred and I search, so it says is starred. I'm pretty sure if I put a minus in front of this, not starred. Oops, no, I didn't want to select that. Come here. There you go. So notice what I have up here in my search. I have owner me minus is starred. So the minus in front of that says not starred. So notice these are all the files that I still need to star, because if I'm the owner, I should star anything that I'm the owner of, or anything I might ever touch again, star them. Now, that same trick works with files you don't own. So you put the minus in front of the owner me. So you put the minus in front of the owner me. And now that is files I don't own and I did not star. Files I do not own and files I did not star. So now you can make a decision about these. That's P for preview, N for rename. These are things that are shared with you. Student work. Delete student work, you guys. It doesn't need to be dipped in gold and saved forever. It does not. You can delete student work. So the way that you can just click on one file, hold down the shift key, click on another file, it's going to select all of them in between. You're like, this is student work. Delete that sucker. Get rid of it. You don't need to save it. You don't. If there's things you want to save all year long as you want to save it, move it into a special folder, right? Exemplars and just student work that you want to save that maybe aren't exemplars, but you just want to save them. Maybe you caught a kid cheating, or you all know the circumstances where you're afraid that you might need this a couple years later. How many files is that? Not that many. Make a folder for that. Move them out of there, delete the rest. Don't delete it till the end of this, you've submitted grades are done, and then delete all the student schoolwork. Delete it. You don't need it. Trust me. If it's in a folder, just delete the folder, delete all of it in the folder. So that's really helpful. Comments, Marcia?
I really like the starring and the preview name. Yeah, that's great.
Saves a lot of time.
Great. That's a great place to start, and easy. And it's a great thing to teach our students too.
Totally is. Thank you for that. So we already went this one with the student exemplars, so I'm going to skip that one. I just went over this, right? Delete student work. Now, if you have a Google Classroom, after you've finalized your Google Classroom, remove the students from the class. It's another thing you can do. Don't reuse your class next year. Reuse the assignments. You can use Schoolitics.com to reuse assignments more quickly. And then I have an unofficial add-on, LSKeeler.com/reuseGC, to reuse multiple assignments from last year's Google Classroom. So if your Google Classroom, you want to remove the students and archive the class. Don't remove the students until you are positive that you don't need any of the student records anymore. Tip. Now here's something fun. Here's my drive. If I do up here on the top, I type TO:, now think about your coworkers. Who's your fourth grade? You teach fourth grade. Who's your fourth grade coworkers? Who's the secretary? Who's your classroom mom who helps you out, that you've shared stuff with? So you're going to type 2, eAliceKeeler@gmail.com. That's not a real email address. These are files that you've shared to. They're shared on that file. So notice they're not the owner. I'm the owner, but I shared it with them. So now I can go through and be like, do I still want them to have permissions? So think about your helpers, your classroom mates, different people you've given access to your files to. Do you still want them to have access to those files? And then the trick is press period. Press period. So I'm going to single click on a file and press period, and it's going to bring up the sharing dialog so that you can remove them as editor, remove access. Now notice that when I'm in there and I have add editor, you can add an expiration. So if you're sharing it with a classroom mom or an aide, why don't you set it to expire on the last day of school so they lose all access once school is out? So instead of just giving them edit access in the first place, give them expired access. So it's only for a set amount of time, and it keeps your files a little bit more private. Okay, forget how many of these I have, but we're definitely winding down. That was it. That was the last one. That is my last tip. If anyone has any other questions or things that they want to know before we finish up, I'd love for you to share that down in the chat. Marcia, do you have any? Yeah, right? That expiration one is kind of sneaky. So you just go into Google Drive, press period on your files, and you can get that share options up there. Marcia, do you have any tips or things that you want to share with anybody?
I think probably making folders to start with is always a good idea too.
Sure is. I make them.
I'm not very good at that. But I like your searching ideas, and just being more intentional when you start with a file. What you're naming it with. Also, not making copies. That's really great.
It's huge.
How you showed how to make a syllabus and update it each year with version history, and naming the version history is a great tip. And so really enjoyed it.
Thanks,
Lots of help.
Well, thanks everybody for joining. If we don't have any other questions, thanks Kelly for the positive feedback. Appreciate that. And of course, still shamelessly begging people to go through my 29 approved add-ons and leave me a 5-star review because it's nice. Thanks everyone. Have a great evening.